What if a single whisper could change everything? What if one child's quiet plea was loud enough to shatter the silence of a broken system? This is the story of a teacher who dared to listen, a girl who dared to speak, and a fight that refused to stay quiet. Stay with us, because what happens next will pull at your heart, spark your outrage, and leave you questioning. What would you do to save a child? It hurts when I sit, Miss Carter. The words sliced through the air like a blade, sharp yet so soft they could have been missed. Emily Carter froze mid-step, her hand still clutching a stack of math worksheets. The classroom buzzed with the usual chaos of second graders, pencils scratching, giggles, the rustle of backpacks, but those 5 words silenced it all for her. She turned slowly, her breath catching, as if moving too fast might shatter the moment. Lila Thompson stood by the art table, her small hands twisting the hem of her oversized sweater. Her dark eyes, wide and searching, held a weight no 7-year-old should carry. Emily's mind flashed to her own childhood, to a memory she'd buried deep, a memory of her cousin's silence, the kind that screamed for help no one heard. "Lila," Emily said softly, crouching to her level, her heart hammering. "What did you say, sweetheart?" Lila's gaze dropped to the floor, her voice barely a murmur. "It hurts when I sit." Emily's stomach churned. She glanced around. Other students were distracted, coloring or chatting, but she needed this moment to be private. "Come with me, Lila," she said, guiding the girl toward the cozy corner of the classroom, where a rug and a few beanbags offered a small sanctuary. Lila followed, her steps slow, her body rigid, as if each movement cost her something. They sat. Well, Emily sat. Lila stood, clutching her sketchbook like a shield. "Did something happen?" Emily asked, keeping her voice gentle but steady. "Did you fall, maybe?" Lila shook her head, her braids swaying slightly. "No," she hesitated, then added, I tripped at home. On the rug." Emily's eyes narrowed, but she didn't push. "Not yet. Can I see? Just to make sure you're okay." Lila's fingers tightened on her sketchbook. Then, slowly, she pushed up her sleeve. Emily's breath caught. Faint bruises dotted Lila's arm, greenish-yellow, irregular, unmistakably shaped like fingers. "Lila," Emily said, her voice barely above a whisper, "are you sure this was from tripping?" The girl's lips pressed into a thin line. "I tripped," she repeated, her tone flat, rehearsed. "In the living room. On the rug." Emily nodded, forcing a calm she didn't feel. "Okay, thank you for telling me." She stood, her mind racing. As Lila walked back to her desk, Emily noticed her gait. Careful, stiff, like she was bracing for pain with every step. At that moment, Emily Carter knew she was standing at a crossroads. Ignore the signs, and a child might pay the price. Act, and she could risk everything, her job, her safety, her peace. What would you do when the truth is a whisper, and the cost of hearing it is everything? During lunch, while the cafeteria echoed with laughter and the clatter of trays, Emily watched Lila. The girl smiled when her friends did, but it was too quick, too practiced. She answered questions with "yes, ma'am" or "no, ma'am," like a script she'd memorized. When a classmate bumped her in line, she flinched hard. Emily's chest tightened. That wasn't normal. That afternoon, she knocked on Principal Karen Mitchell's office door. Her notes clutched in her hand. "I'm worried about Lila Thompson," she said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her fingers. Karen looked up from her paperwork, her glasses perched low on her nose. "What kind of worries?" Emily took a breath. "She told me it hurts to sit. She's avoiding chairs entirely. And I saw bruises on her arm, marks that look like someone grabbed her. She says she tripped, but..." Karen's expression shifted, cautious. "You're suggesting abuse." "I'm suggesting we need to look closer," Emily said. "Her drawings, her behavior, the bruises, something's wrong." Karen leaned back, folding her hands. "Emily, you know we've had this talk before. Kids bruise. They fall. We can't jump to conclusions without solid evidence." "These aren't playground bruises," Emily countered, her voice sharper than intended. They're fingerprints. Karen sighed. I'll note your concerns and pass them to CPS, but we can't launch a full report without more. Be careful, Emily. Accusations like this, they ripple. Emily left the office, her jaw tight. Careful. The word felt like a betrayal. Careful hadn't saved her cousin years ago. Careful wouldn't save Lila now. That night, Emily sat in her small apartment, the hum of the city outside barely audible over her racing thoughts. She opened her laptop and reviewed Georgia's mandated reporter laws. She didn't need Karen's approval to act. She just needed to trust what she saw. And she did. Some truths are too heavy to carry alone. But when the system tells you to wait, to be cautious, what do you do? For Emily, the answer was clear. Act now or lose a child forever. But what she didn't know was how far this fight would take her, and how much it would cost. The next morning, Emily handed Lila a new pack of crayons and a fresh sketchbook. Draw whatever you want, Lila, she said, her voice soft but deliberate. No rules, just you. Lila stood at her desk as always, her pencil moving with a quiet intensity. When she handed Emily the drawing, it was like a punch to the gut. A wooden chair, a crimson smear beneath it, a belt coiled like a snake, and a small girl with wide black eyes staring from the corner. Emily's throat tightened. Who's this, Lila? Lila's shoulders trembled. She didn't answer, her eyes fixed on the floor. Emily called Sarah Evans, the school counselor, that afternoon. I need you to see this, she said, her voice urgent. Sarah arrived quickly, her face paling as she studied the drawing. She's telling you something, Sarah said, her voice low. She's too scared to say it out loud. That evening, Emily dialed the CPS hotline. Her hands shook, but her voice was steady. Lila Thompson, 7 years old. Signs of physical abuse. Bruises, fear of sitting, withdrawn behavior, disturbing drawings. When she hung up, she placed Lila's drawing on her coffee table. At the bottom, in shaky handwriting, Lila had written, Asterisk, you make me feel safe. Asterisk. Emily's eyes burned. Not again, she whispered. Not this time. One call, one drawing, one whisper. It was enough to set everything in motion. But what happens when the system moves too slowly? When the danger is closer than anyone realizes? Stay with us. This story is about to take a turn you won't see coming. Emily didn't sleep that night. Lila's words echoed in her dreams, a haunting refrain. Asterisk, it hurts when I sit. Asterisk. Morning came with a drizzle that mirrored her mood. She parked outside Lincoln Elementary, her eyes scanning the brick building as if it held secrets in its walls. Lila arrived with her older brother, Ethan, a lanky 10-year-old with a guarded expression. He held her hand tightly, his eyes darting around. Morning, Ethan, Emily said, forcing a smile. Thanks for walking Lila in. She didn't want to come, Ethan said, his voice flat. Emily crouched beside Lila. Is that true? Are you okay today? Lila shrugged, her eyes dull. I'm tired. Did you sleep? Emily asked. Another shrug. Emily glanced at Ethan, who shifted uncomfortably. You guys need anything? Breakfast? We ate, Ethan said quickly, but his eyes said otherwise. As they walked inside, Emily noticed Lila wince when her backpack brushed her lower back. Her heart sank. Later, during art time, Lila drew again. This time, it was a house with no windows, a figure in a red scarf outside, and a small box in the corner with a stick figure curled inside. Emily's breath caught. What's this box, Lila? She asked softly. Lila's voice was barely audible. The closet. Whose closet? Lila's eyes flicked up, then away. His. Emily's blood ran cold. She didn't need to ask who he was. The truth was emerging, piece by piece, in crayon and whispers. But with every revelation, the danger grew closer. Who was he? And how far would Emily go to protect Lila? The answer lies just ahead, but it's not what you expect. That afternoon, Emily walked Lila to the pickup area. A black SUV idled at the curb. The driver, a tall man with a clean-shaven face and a tight smile, stepped out. "You must be Miss Carter," he said, extending a hand. "I'm Derek, Lila's stepdad." Emily shook his hand, her skin prickling at his grip. Too firm, too long. "Lila's a wonderful student," she said, her voice neutral. Derek's smile didn't reach his eyes. "She's a good kid. Bit clumsy, though." He looked at Lila. "Come on, kiddo. Let's go." Lila flinched at his tone, scurrying into the SUV without a word. Emily watched them drive away, her fists clenching. That evening she met Sarah at a coffee shop. The air smelled of espresso and rain. "I showed Karen the drawing," Emily said. "She called it imagination." Sarah frowned. "That's not imagination. That's trauma." She studied a photo Emily had taken of Lila's bruises. "This is a handprint, Emily. You've done your duty by reporting, but we need to do more." Emily nodded, her resolve hardening. "I'm listening louder than her silence." Back home she compiled a file. Photos, notes, timestamps. She didn't know the next step, but she knew she couldn't stop. Emily was building a case, brick by brick. But what she didn't know was that someone was watching her too. And they weren't happy. Stay tuned, the stakes are about to get higher. Tuesday morning brought rain, heavy and unrelenting. Emily stood under an umbrella, watching cars drop off students. Lila arrived, her hood up, her eyes distant. Emily walked her inside, noticing the way she moved. Slow, careful, like she was guarding a secret pain. In class, Lila stood again, drawing furiously. When Emily checked, the new sketch showed a tall figure looming over a small girl, a belt in hand. Emily's heart pounded. She emailed Sarah. "We need to act now." Sarah called in a favor. Her sister worked for DFCS in Atlanta, specializing in urgent cases. "I'm making this personal," Sarah said. That afternoon, Emily received a message from Rachel Lee, a journalist she'd met at a school event. "I reviewed your file," Rachel wrote. "I'm digging. Stay safe." At dismissal, Derek's SUV was there again. Emily crouched beside Lila. "If you're scared, you can call me. You have my number, right?" Lila nodded, whispering. "I hid it in my shoe." Emily's eyes stung. "Good girl." That night, Emily's phone buzzed at 2:17 a.m. A text from an unknown number. Asterisk, "She's in the dark room. Help!" Asterisk. Emily's heart stopped. It was Ethan. He called Sarah. "Lila's in trouble. Ethan says she's in the dark room. A closet, maybe." Sarah didn't hesitate. "I'm calling my sister. Stay put." By 3 a.m., DFCS and police were at Derek's apartment. Emily waited in her car nearby, her hands shaking. The door to apartment 4C opened. Derek stepped out, arguing. Then Lila emerged, wrapped in a blanket, barefoot. Ethan followed, clutching a toy car. Emily ran to them. "Lila!" The girl broke free and threw herself into Emily's arms. "I wrote your number," she whispered. He almost found it. Lila was safe for now. But the fight was far from over. What happens when the system lets a predator walk free? And what price will Emily pay for standing in his way? The truth is coming, and it's darker than you think. Lila and Ethan were placed with a foster family, a kind couple named Maria and Tom. Emily wasn't allowed contact, but she carried Lila's drawing, the one with the red scarf figure, like a talisman. The article Rachel published shook the city. A child's whisper ignored how the system failed Lila. Teachers shared it. Parents rallied. But not everyone was pleased. Principal Karen called Emily into her office. "The district's upset about the publicity," she said. "But off the record, you did the right thing." Emily nodded, but the weight didn't lift. A week later, a letter arrived from Lila. In careful pencil she wrote, Asterisk, "Dear Miss Carter, thank you for the crayons. My new bed is warm. Ethan and I aren't scared anymore. There's a dog named Biscuit. Dream now. You're in them with a red scarf. Love, Lila. Asterisk. Emily framed the letter, her heart full. A small victory, but shadows linger. What happens when the past refuses to stay buried? When the man who caused the pain comes back? Hold on, this story's about to twist. 2 weeks later, Emily received a call from Maria. "Derek's out on bail," she said, her voice tight. "He's not supposed to come near, but..." Emily's heart sank. "But what?" Lila saw him outside the foster home. He didn't speak, just stared. Emily's hands clenched. "She's terrified again, isn't she?" "She's drawing shadows now," Maria said. Emily didn't wait. She called Rachel. "We need to go public again. Use names this time." The second article hit like a bomb. Asterisk, a child's fear, a system's failure. Derek Mason walks free. Asterisk, it detailed his intimidation, Lila's terror, the vandalized art show. The public outcry was immediate. But so was the backlash. An anonymous note appeared on Emily's desk. Asterisk, stop playing hero. Asterisk, she ignored it, but the unease grew. Then one night, a whistle pierced the silence outside her window. 3 sharp notes. Emily froze, her phone in hand. She called the police, but they found nothing. Just shadows. The hunter was circling, and Emily was his target. But she wasn't backing down. What happens when courage becomes a beacon and a threat? The answer will leave you speechless. Emily met with State Senator Clara Hughes, who was pushing the Lila Thompson Act, legislation for faster CPS responses and mandatory abuse training for teachers. "We need your voice," Clara said. Emily agreed to speak at a public hearing. The night before, she found a stuffed bear on her doorstep. Lila's bear, one she hadn't seen in months. Her blood ran cold. She called the police, but again, no evidence. At the hearing, Emily stood before a packed room. "I'm a teacher," she began. "My job is to see what's hidden." Lila whispered, "It hurts when I sit." And that changed everything. "This bill ensures no child waits for us to catch up." She held up Lila's drawing of a lighthouse and a red balloon. "She calls this hope. Let's make it law." The room erupted in applause. The bill passed committee days later. A victory, but not the end. One final confrontation looms, and it's closer than Emily knows. Can she stand firm against the darkness? Stay with us, the climax is here. Friday evening, Emily was leaving school when she saw him. Derek Mason, standing across the street. His eyes locked on her. "You took everything," he said, stepping closer. Emily didn't flinch. "You don't get to hurt her anymore." Sirens wailed. Derek froze as police cars surrounded him. He was cuffed, his face contorted with rage. Later at the station, Emily learned he'd violated the restraining order multiple times. This time he wouldn't walk free. Lila's newest drawing arrived a week later. A field of lighthouses, each beaming light, red balloons rising above. In crayon she wrote, "Asterisk, we're safe because you saw us." Asterisk. Emily hung it in the school hallway. Students stopped to touch the glass, whispering, "That's us." Some battles end in silence. Others end in light. Emily Carter became a lighthouse, and Lila's whisper became a roar. But this isn't the end. It's a beginning.